classic movie fans, Rick Nineg here. Thank you for joining me where we are continuing my second annual Monsters and Aliens special, where I cover different topics from the Halloween season, focusing on classic movies, classic TV shows, but today we're going to be focusing on aliens. I hope that you enjoy this movie. It is called Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And when I tell you all the things about this movie that you didn't know, I think you're going to be mind blown. So make sure to watch my other videos if you haven't. The Day the Earth Stood Still, as well as Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. More videos coming, so stay tuned in this Halloween special. Let's get right to it. Now, the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers came out in 1956. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long, and let me tell you, I hadn't seen it till about a few years ago. When I did, it quickly became one of my favorite horror / sci-fi movies ever. I absolutely loved it. This is about a small town, and a small town doctor, that starts to realize through the course of the movie that the population of people in his community is slowly being replaced. It is something very sinister. They're replaced by these alien duplicates. Now, these alien duplicates do not really have emotions. They are exact replicas to the original people, and the original people just are gone, poof, they disappear. But no one is the wiser to what happened to them, and as more and more people become duplicated, that is, it's scarier because you see everyone emotionless and you don't know who is next, and everyone is coming after you if you haven't been duplicated. So it's a really crazy movie, and the whole movie is very chase feeling. That it starts out with the idea that something is wrong, and as the movie progresses along, so forth, it becomes more and more scary, more fearful, because it's like you as the audience member watching are being chased as well. It's like you're the only one left, and it's such a good movie. There's also, they made a remake of this movie, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in the 1970s with Leonard Nimoy, Donald Sutherland. Such a good movie. I would even say, some people would even say it is better than the original. I like both, and for different reasons. But I want to get into some really interesting factual information. The first we're going to talk about is how long it took to shoot. Now, the movie itself was filmed in only 19 days. You'll know that this is quite fast. The cast and crew work 6 days a week with Sundays off. Now, the production went over schedule by 3 days because of night-for-night shoots that the director, Don Siegel, wanted. And let me tell you, it came out amazingly. Now, there's a lot of speculation and rumors in regards to what the movie's about, if it's a metaphor for something. Now, I mean, the best person to ask is the director, Don Siegel, that always said that he intended the film as a psychological metaphor, not a political one. So anyone that says that, you know, there are parallels to McCarthyism, maybe there are parallels there, but at least that wasn't the original purpose. He said that there are people who essentially are pods, and he said this in an interview in 1971, where he is proud of the scenes toward the end where the actor Miles, or that is the actor Kevin McCarthy, who played Miles, kisses Becky. It's in the cave scene, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. Becky's played by Dana Winter, but he senses Miles, from her non-responsiveness to the kiss, that she became a pod. And director Don Siegel added, "In my life, sad to say, I've kissed many pods." So essentially, the biggest special effect in this movie are the pods. Now, the pods were seen all over the film, and there were many of them, actually. Now, it wasn't that expensive. It was only about $30,000 to make all the props that were used as the pods. That comes out today as $332,247.76. The whole effect of that was the biggest thing. The difficult part was when the pods had to burst open, revealing the likeness of the actors inside. Now, the actors had to have naked impressions of themselves made out of a thin, skin-tight latex. Now, when they made the cast, which involved being submerged in the very hot casting material, they only had a straw in their mouths to breathe through, and this was grueling for the actors. Now, you may or may not know that Carolyn Jones, yes, the actual Morticia Addams, the original Morticia Addams from the 1960s television show The Addams Family, she's also the once wife of producer Aaron Spelling. Now, she's in this movie, but she unfortunately was very claustrophobic. Now, Dana Winter, the actress of the movie, recalled that she was in The Thing that is the material when it hardened, and of course it got very warm. Now she was breathing through the straws or something quite bizarre, and the rest of her was encased. She felt like she was in a sarcophagus. Now the guys who were making it tapped on the back of it and said, "Dana, listen, we won't be long, we're off for lunch." And then they laughed and kind of walked off. They were messing with her. But in the end, they had to be covered except for just the nostrils and a little opening in the mouth, which if you think about is kind of terrifying unto itself. Kevin McCarthy was amazing starring in this movie. Now, it required him as the leading man to run for literally days on end during filming. In many scenes, his character sprints for dear life over all types of terrain, and he got cramps. That is, the actor Kevin McCarthy would get cramps during filming. Now, just days before the film drew to a close, Dr. Bennell runs through traffic in a panic frenzy and he screams, "They're here already, you're next, you're next." Now, since the exhausted actor hadn't been sleeping well, the director Don Siegel told his stunt drivers to remain extra alert in case McCarthy tripped during filming or without warning. And they were terrified that his timing would be off. He might fall down under the wheel of cars and trucks and get literally run over. I mean, remember, this is the 1950s. No stuntmen were used. They used the real actors. And it may not seem dangerous, but this was really dangerous. I mean, he was doing this for days and days and days. And, just appear for a few minutes on camera. Now, you may be surprised to learn that the film was supposed to end in a completely different way. It was supposed to end with Miles on the highway shouting to the people driving by, "You're next, you're next." However, the studio wanted a more happy, a more uplifting, a more optimistic ending that would assure the audience that the hero's efforts were not in vain. So scenes were added later on in editing to the opening to show Miles in a hospital recounting his story to some doctors. And to the end, when the other doctors find out about the pods, they contact the FBI. Now, the players, that is the actors Whit Bissell, Richard Deacon, and Robert Osterloh, who appeared prominently in the framing of the episodes, they didn't receive screen credit, and the reason is because their scenes were added after the rest of the film, including the opening credits when they had already been completed. It's unfortunate for them, but, they did change the ending in the end. Now, not only did the director deny the idea or the parallel between this movie and McCarthyism, well, the main actor, Kevin McCarthy, and the author himself, Jack Finney, they always denied the rumor of the story is a statement against McCarthyism and communism. They just saw it as a thriller. Now, the director also said the same thing, which I mentioned. Now, there was a real issue with this movie. Remember, 1956 with nudity. I'll tell you all about it. Now, the production designer, Ted Hayworth, he was worried that studio executives would objectify or be objective to nudity of the pod likenesses. Now, the director Don Siegel reminded him that Hollywood executives were all pods themselves, and they had no real feeling about anything, including nudity. But one executive voiced strong objections and ordered Siegel, the director, to eliminate any nudity from the film. Now, Siegel returned to Hayworth and told him to continue as planned, make no changes. That is, leave the nudity in there. So, if we go to Siegel, he said, "I was sure that before the impressions were made, this executive would have become a pod too," he said in his own autobiography. At any rate, the issue was fairly moot. The pod replicas are revealed under foaming soap bubbles to obviously hide that nudity and manage to keep any of it concealed. But if you look around 30 minutes, I will not show it here, but it is there. There's a brief glimpse of nudity in the search for Becky's basement by Miles, when Miles finds the forming double when it's hidden in a crate. You can see a little bit of Winter that wasn't supposed to be shown, or, well, it's really her cast mold, that is. It's exposed for about a second with some makeup over it. Now, this is really fun and interesting at the end of the movie with the cave scene where Miles goes in the cave with his love interest. The Bronson Cave was used as the location for this tunnel. And what's really cool is that they dug a trench below them for them to go in, and there were planks on top for that scene where the pod people run through the tunnel looking for them. It was really, really cool that they were able to use this place, because where was it? Well, it's the same place where they film Batman. That's the Batcave. It's the same tunnel. It's in Griffith Park. It's called the Bronson Cave. and it became really popular in the 1960s, but before that it was used in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's so awesome. If you do watch the remake, the 1978 remake, Kevin McCarthy would appear in a quick cameo of the movie. So he appears as Dr. Miles in the remake as well. Look for him in the movie. I won't spoil it. Go look. If it's been so long, so you probably would know. But if you don't, take a look at both movies. They're so good. Thanks to all of you. There's so many other facts. And when I make these fact videos, I just pick good ones. But there's so many. Sometimes there are over 200. I maybe put about 10 in a video. So it always leaves room for me to make a part 2 if you really like it. So let me know in the comments down below. Tell me your favorites. I mean, the idea of nudity in a movie from 1956 is pretty shocking to me. I don't know about you, but it really is. In the history of film and television, it is something that is pretty shocking. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed the other moments. Thanks so much for the support you've given me lately during this hard time. I posted a video on it not too long ago. I'm happy to be making videos for all of you. Stay tuned. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget, everyone, be hopeful. Thank you so much to everyone who supports my work on Patreon. David D, Sally N, Gerard D, Greg S, Ricky, Citizen Kane 359, Kevin K, and Vito L. If you want to appear on this list, don't forget to look at the Patreon description in the link below. Thank you.